technical difficulties. Salo and I are, hey, look, you can't put on a show sometimes and not have technical difficulties. It's not how, people shouldn't judge you by how good you are when everything goes great. People should judge you on how you react when things are going south. Like when it's blowing up in your face, right? Like when things aren't working, how do you react to the inevitable gremlins that jump into your operation and try to mess with you? So the tech gods challenged us there for a minute. In the middle of our script, we're rolling, rock and rolling, Salo and I. It falls apart. We come right back up, and we don't miss a beat. We come right back to where we were. I was right in the middle of saying about the VA home loan benefit when the internet went down on us and finished it up, and we were over, but we came right back. So Salo saves the day. Brian's right here as well saying, hey, man, your internet's back up. We're hustling. But we were closing out by thanking some sponsors. We thanked Aligned Mortgage of Texas. We talked about their VA home loan benefit. Get into that if you know a veteran friend. Louis Garcia, AAA Bail Bonds. Now, let me point right here. You know why I love Louis? Family-owned business. He's always doing everything he can in the community to help you. If you happen to be paying a visit to the Bexar County Jail and other than circumstances that you didn't want to show up and pay the visit there, and you need some help, we are an innocent till proven guilty country unless you're a Republican. You can call AAA Garcia Bail Bonds, ask for Louis, tell him Brockhouse sent you, and he'll take care of you. He'll take care of you anyways, but wonderful business. Louis and his wife, we appreciate you. We thank you for always kicking in and helping out with our pregame food tonight with sushi, but our pregame food before we sit down tonight and talk about the issues at the city. We want to also thank our friends at Speedy Salt, Tyler Hall. I don't know where he's at tonight. We're waiting on you, Tyler. We don't know where you're at. Please give our man a ring, speedysalt.com. Tyler always helps us out. Man of faith, always doing he can, every way possible to build his own little business. So thank you, Tyler, for always jumping in and delivering salt to people who need it in the city. Nobody wants to go pick up a 50-pound bag of salt from Home Depot. Tyler does it for you automatically. We appreciate you there, Tyler. And then we always want to thank as well our two real estate partner friends, Brian Pena from the Torado Realty Group, Remax Realty. Brian is right over here to the right of me right now. Brian, come here for a second.
If you've seen Narcos.
So if you've seen Narcos, the movie on Netflix, I'm sitting next to one of the narcos, one of the Sicario. Is it a Sicario? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
How do you pronounce it? And actually, though, Sicario. Yeah, I just got visited by a Sicario right there. Brian Pena, though, he kills it. First responders by him, he kills it. I didn't mean it like that. He doesn't kill anything. He kills it.
As far as we know.
As far as we know, innocent till proven guilty. First responders buying program. He does cover closing costs, helps you out. Credit scores and all those things. Look, Brian puts deals together, helps people get into homes. Give him a holler. We've done business with him here at Aligned Mortgage. We love him. Him and his family are doing all they can to help put people into homes. Give him a holler. Brian Pena, the Remax Realty Group, Torado. He is the man. And then we also want to thank Rebate House and Chris Marty. He kicks in, helps us out as well. RebateHouse.com. Chris Marty and his wife Meredith and their newborn Luke. Just a month or so old. They're out there doing the best they can to help people get into it. And like I always say, shop. Figure out who does what. Find out the best pricing. What are you looking to do for your home loan? How can you make it happen? If you notice, I'm all into the real estate piece because I obviously believe that owning a piece of this country, right? Owning a piece of our land, our city, wherever you're at, wherever you're living, home ownership is fantastic. But you need good realtors, good lenders, and occasionally a good bail bondsman to help you get where you need to be. So we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you to our sponsors. Now, I always say, right, and look, you know how I am about our first responders and what's been irking me lately, and I don't know if y'all feel this way. I'll be keeping an eye on the comments. Betty Eckert just tuned in. Duncan says we're back. Lyndon, thank you for your comments. Talking about the RNC, we're going to hit a little bit of that tonight, but I always want to talk about what is happening, right, in our city. If you've been watching the convention, so last week was the Democratic National Convention. This week, right, is the Republican National Convention. President Trump is speaking tonight. Last night was Mike Pence. Night before that, Melania Trump. And we're watching all these different Republicans come up and talk now versus what we saw last week with the Democrats. And I don't know about you, but the absolute difference between the two. You cannot script any more yin and yang, black and white, you name it. It is so different between these two organizations, right? Democrat National Convention, Republican National Convention. Both of these political parties are coming to you preaching two absolutely different visions of the world. And I don't know what world you live in or what your most important piece is, but now more than ever, it's important to find out, okay, what in the world is happening to our community and city? And I've watched over the last couple of nights as the Republicans, and I watch the Democrats too. Like, you may not agree with either side, but it's always good to know, hey, what is the other side thinking or doing? If you're in a world and you're working in politics and you're trying to make a change in your community, if you don't know what the other side is thinking, right? If you don't know how they're going to operate, what's important to them, if you're not digging into your opposition's plan, you're not doing your job. Because if you're going to stand up and say, this is what I believe in our city, this is what needs to happen, but you have no clue what the other side thinks, or you're not even engaging or trying to figure out where they're at, you're a very short-sighted policy idea. So I watch both sides, Republicans and Democrats. And what I noticed over the last few days, and we'll talk about the conventions later, but what I noticed over the last couple of days was this heavy emphasis on our first responders and law enforcement. Now, we know there are issues brewing across our country right now and have been sparked by the George Floyd incident, right? The murder of George Floyd. And there's a lot of ways to look at that. And yes, a knee on a neck, police brutality, what's happened in Minneapolis since then, the history of George Floyd himself. There's so much that's flying around back and forth. You can log on to social media, you'll see one thing one day, and the next day it's this. All that information that's flying around out there, it's so confusing about what's happening. Videos pop up. We saw a 17-year-old yesterday in Kenosha, Wisconsin, shoot 3 people. And immediately the news is pouncing on it as a white racist Nazi that's combing the streets of Kenosha, Wisconsin, shooting helpless protesters. And then an hour later, we see video of protesters beating the crap out of the kid before he's shot. It's hard to tell, right? It is very difficult to tell where the truth lies. But here's what I want to remind you about how things work. I had this exact conversation today with a couple of friends. There is only one truth. That's it. There's only one fact. Your opinion of that situation may be what changes or the difference, right? You may see, and I think it's Mr. Blake, right? He was the one that was shot by the police officers in Kenosha. Shot 7 times as he was not complying and walking away from police officers. I'm only so, but the video I saw, he's walking away, he's not complying, he goes in his car, he gets shot 7 times, he's paralyzed from the waist down. The news portrayed it as a man opening a car door getting shot by police officers. The law enforcement supporters on the other side saying he was resisting arrest. Videos are showing different angles, but in truth, there's only one fact point in the conversation. Our interpretation of that is what's gotten incredibly out of control. Like, all of us are seeing these things through a lens, right, that we've grown up in, that we've built up, or even over the last 6 months with COVID-19, all the isolation, the quarantine, the civil unrest, the anti-police, all of that. We're watching all of that through our own lens, right, through our own piece of the world. So, Gabrielle, what would you say? Come on, we should be able to get that no matter what, the act of murder happened. The facts already exist that he broke several laws in the first place. This is not hard. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's saying, Gabriel, that he did not, look, I don't know who you're talking about. If you're talking about Jacob or Mr. Blake, or you're talking about Mr. Floyd, I don't know which one, or even the young man yesterday, the 17-year-old who shot the 3 protesters. Nobody's saying any of that, Gabriel. I think you probably misunderstood me a little bit. The act of murder will be adjudicated in the court of law, right? Those police officers will be held accountable. But what you're seeing, right, across the entire band is people are watching this through their own narrative. And while Gabriel is oftentimes on the other side of issues that I'm at, and that's fine. He's always comes on the show, he makes good comments, and we talk about the things in our world. There was a video, unbelievable that anyone refused to say murder was unjust. No, all murder is unjust. See, you're drawing a further conversation, Gabriel, that I'm not saying. So again, your lens right now is I'm sitting here saying that was no. When I see these things, you can't always, and I think this is part of the problem. It's difficult to initially, when you see a media report, until facts and other information come out, people in this world are jumping to conclusions. Now, we watched George Floyd. That was clearly unnecessary, right? It was over the top. The brutality of that, right? That was a lot of people said that was murder straight up to the point. And now it is going to be adjudicated in the court of law. Those officers are going to be held accountable. They're going to have their day in court, which is much more than we can say that George Floyd received. So I don't disagree, right, that all murder needs to be called on the carpet and there's no such thing as and none of that. Nobody's arguing that. What we're saying, though, is that each of us in this country right now are coming at it in different pieces. And if you watch what happened in Kenosha, Wisconsin, now we're seeing all these other things come out. For instance, the young man that was, the guy that was a 17-year-old, I think his name is Rittenhauser, he shot 3 people. Yes, but he was also attacked these videos are coming out over a period of time. Now, what did he do before that? There's rumors and reports that he shot somebody just for walking down the street. All that has to come out over time. So Gabriel says more for the followers on her who said it was a murder. Which one are you talking about? I guess maybe I'm not understanding. By definition, Duncan is absolutely correct. Murder is unjust. It's not murder when you challenge a policeman and give him rise to believe his life is at extreme risk. That is the fine line that we have to be careful on, right? No one is saying that in this particular case, we don't know without the facts. So the big challenge for all of us is, and you can see right now, even by the comments, drastic difference in interpretation. And I see that in the Democratic National Convention and the Republican National Convention. Last night and the last 2 nights have been law and order conversation. You break the law, you're held accountable 100%. And then you come over here on the other side and Democrats are living in a completely different envisioned world and what they think is right or wrong with our community. But I see it and I'm watching it. Right here's Christine. He's not dead. They knew his history, including violence against cops. He was resisting arrest. Nobody, let's be very clear. And I've said this from day one. You can be pro-police and pro-Black Lives Matter. You can believe that all colors, race, creed deserve equal treatment in the eyes of the law. We all believe that. But those split-second decisions that are happening on the streets, man, you don't understand. I got a story for you, and maybe Gabriel, he can reason with this one a little bit, because you just don't know how fast these issues occur. We watch them on the news in almost seems like in slowed down time. Everything seems really simple and slow. And you're watching it like, well, that's clear that because you're only getting clips, by the way, from the media, who is complicit oftentimes in the negativity, not oftentimes, most of the time, the media is complicit in what is wrong with these situations. And they're driving ratings and they're beating our country over the head with their holier than thou attitude. So I pin a lot of this on the media because you can jump to these conclusions all day long. You can cut up tape and you can do all of this and push your political agenda because the left and the progressive liberal own the media. They own the media, right? So that narrative gets told pretty quickly. But when I look at it, this is how these things go. So the other night, I was in my neighborhood. The SWAT team and the police officers came in on an overnight run, street crimes unit, to arrest somebody in the neighborhood who had committed a violent crime. One of the worst crimes you can commit. So, and I'm up at 3 a.m. in the morning and I'm watching this, right? Watching it live as SWAT is encircling. You've got the Eagle overhead, right? You've got the chopper flying and all this is going on. And this person, the suspect, is being backed out of the house. And it's all happening in front of us, like in front of me, real time. And I'm watching it and the person's backing up and he's following commands. And I thought to myself, and I was talking to my wife about it as we were watching, one false move in a split-second decision process can cause you to get hurt or to lose your life in that situation. So complying is so utterly important in the conversation. Now, no murder. Murder by definition is unjust. So Gabriel, you can't say Greg or this or these organizations or people are condoning murder. Nobody condones murder. Nobody. So you please don't jump to the easy answer. I'm telling you what happens in the moment. You comply immediately. So I'm watching this go live. There's ARs pointed on this person. The suspect's backing out of the house. My adrenaline in the situation is racing. I kid you not. I am watching it as it unfolds in front of me. And I'm in my house behind a window watching. My wife is right next to me. And you know what's going through my head at that moment as I'm watching this? I sure hope this person, this young man, doesn't put or do anything, some rapid movement. He just complies. Just do what you're told to do. So I'm watching it. He backs out, hands up. SAPD did a fantastic job in the moment. This was a minority, by the way. So they'll go out, well, white privilege and all that stuff. No. It was a minority being backed out. They got a hold of him, put him to the ground, took him in, zip-tied him, and got him out of there. The span of this whole thing was maybe 15 minutes. But as it's happening, you can see that if this person makes a quick reaction or move, reaches for a waistband, or does something that threatens or gives the impression of it, that person at that point is subject to getting shot. That's just how it goes. It is so difficult. And you're sitting there, there's no such thing as justify this, justify that. Nobody's justifying anything. I'm trying to imply that even in that moment, watching that from 25 feet away, the adrenaline's pumping. I'm not even a part of it. But the split-second nature of that conversation. Now, please take that to the police moment, right? The officers who are highly skilled, highly trained, right? And somebody goes into their car and is not complying, reaches into a vehicle or pulls around and is moving around. You are talking microsecond to make a decision. You're not talking about, I have 15 seconds to order, I'm going to threaten to shoot or give out a warning or anything of those sorts. You have less than a second to make a decision. Training comes from that, and your training kicks in. I've seen these men and women, but to see it live in that situation, that person, that young man, could have lost his life if he went for something or made a threatening gesture. You have to give the benefit of the doubt. And that's how these laws are created right now for our police officers. We can challenge them all day long. We can have conversations about police brutality, about qualified immunity, and all these other things that police officers are protected by. This is a free country. We can have a conversation about every one of them. But I'm trying to impart to you what it means when you watch it, when you see it live. And it is a minority, and it's minority police officers together engaging a very dangerous situation. So when I see that story can be told multiple ways from our lens, our perception. Nowhere in our society is someone going to run around that I know of, right, and say, hey, murder is just, man, and some people just deserve it. No, I don't know people who think like that. Are there people that think like that in the world? I'm sure there are. And I'm sure there are people in our country that think that way, right? But there are certain steps that have to happen. The first step is citizen compliance. Do what the hell you are told to do. You can disagree with the police officer all day long, but I'm watching it happen in my front yard 25 feet from me, and I'm praying that the young man just does what he's supposed to do. Comply. And he did, and he was arrested and taken away, and he's going to stand trial. So all this has happened around the country. So then you see the RNC last night, and they're full on into law enforcement support. I mean, it was over the top. Like, it's just, there's flags in the background. It's all about law and order. And I support that message. I believe in that message. The Democrats are full on the other side, which is police brutality, police racism, systemic police breakdown. We're responsible for sins and laws that were broken 110 years ago. Our own city council passed a racism proclamation saying that it's systemically broke. San Antonio is a systemically racist society. The city council voted on that and passed that as a resolution. All of these things are not a story. It is a perception. Now, how do we fix these things? And Gabriel, he just comments. I agree with the point. Greg, regarding quick actions, often in tense situations. What's frustrating me is not our difference of opinion. The court will carry this out, but in some cases like Kyle's and the officer who shot Jacob Blake, so Blake didn't comply, okay, he should have never been shot as he was clearly not a threat. Yeah, that's going to come out. And I agree with Gabriel of an analysis of a situation. And that's what I'm trying to get to. Him and I that's the cool thing about Gabriel and I. Disagree, not on the same point, but let's have a conversation and talk about it. We don't have the facts. So we got to be, and I don't know, watching the Republicans and Democrats over the last couple of weeks, I don't know if we're ever going to be united again as a country. And I don't know how you feel about that. I think the division is rampant across the board and is going to be so difficult to unite so disparate, these different groups and beliefs. And perhaps you shouldn't put a lot of stock in national conventions watching them, but when I was watching, I'm like, man, our country is so drastically different.
You think there's a tipping point?
I think we're at a tipping point. Salo just said, do we think we're at a tipping point? I think we're at a tipping point.
That we get frustrated, that we're so divided and saying, you know what, let me consider the other side.
Like we would actually give in and consider the other side's point of view?
Not give in, but say, you know what, I'm more pissed than anything else. I'm not being part of the change. Because right now we're just pissed. So Salo's bringing up a good point. He's saying, is there a tipping point where people just recognize, I've got to give in and understand the other side? Yeah. I would think that's possible. Maybe not be pissed, or still be pissed, but give in and reach out and try to figure out what's happening. Right now. Yeah, because watching the RNC and the DNC, I mean, I don't know how you ever reconcile those two visions of America. Yeah. And you can look at it all you want. Like, I'll say this about Republicans.
I watched the Republican National Convention. By far, the best orchestrated convention of the two. The production value of it, everything about it was superior to the Democratic National Convention. It looked 100% better than the Democratic National Convention. But there are people that are saying that the Republicans are creating an alternative reality to what the world currently is. A lack of focus on COVID-19 and different things, a lack of focus on some of the racial systemic racism issues. And then people are watching the Democrats saying those people aren't even in tune with what's happening in the world. But Republicans, don't forget this. Don't forget this. Last election, more Democrats voted than Republicans. So Republicans won the Electoral College. Therefore, President Trump was elected. But don't forget, Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million votes. So our next election isn't necessarily going to be decided by a majority of the Americans. It's going to be decided by the Electoral College. So the Democrats still have the votes. What do you got, Sally? You got one to go?
No, this one.
The only question is whether we fall into the abyss or reach for a toehold and climb back out. George, that's a great point. What are we going to do? People need to stop the emotional reactions that they want to discourse. Diane Zamora, thank you for that. And Greg Brooks is watching. It's good to see you. Tina Cortez, settle in court from Ray Rodriguez. You got a great point there. People need to stop the emotional reactions. And it is super tough. And I guess I kind of put this one up front because I was thinking about law enforcement. And I want to we're going to do a rally in San Antonio. I want to put one together because I've been kind of thinking, what are we going to do to show support for our police officers in San Antonio?
It's not an anti-rally.
It's not an anti-BLM rally. It's not an anti-anything. It's none of that. It is a supportive rally for San Antonio police officers. Because put the graphic up. You got a graphic? You want to put it up? We're going to do this one right here. We're going to do a SA Backs the Blue classic car parade and expression. I like that. Sally put the word expression on there. We're going to do this, and I'm shooting for the first Saturday or so after Labor Day. We don't know. What do you think about this one? Ray Rodriguez, you talked about this one too. You brought this one up. But this is what we want to do right here. And we're going to start advertising and putting this out there. So we are in a time period where you cannot gather into...
Ask for suggestions.
Yeah, ask for suggestions, by the way. But we have to be very careful on social distancing. So our plan is to put together... Ray Rodriguez, what do you think? This is part of Ray's idea. So we'll do a classic car parade up and down Old Highway 90. I've done different events on Old Highway 90. And we'll do one, and Kathy Tamayo said, isn't there one this weekend? There is a Back the Blue support rally at Ken's 5, I think it is, on the 29th, held by Unite San Antonio. But this is, I think, a great opportunity for us to just drive, show support for our San Antonio Police Department. We're not going to sit there and talk about, hey, man, that Kenosha, Wisconsin Police Department's awesome. Like, we're not there to support any other police department. We're not there to support anybody else across the country. That's not what this is about. We want to put together a SA Backs the Blue classic car parade expression. So keep an eye out for this, and we're going to put it together. That way people can drive and recognize. We're not going to get out and violate social distancing rules, but we're going to be we're thinking about handing out food, Back the Blue yard signs, T-shirts. And so you can come by, you can scan a QR code, get your information, and we'll hand you some different items as we put together, a list of folks who just support police officers in San Antonio. My contention is, and I feel almost 100% certain of this, 60-70% of our community fully in love with our San Antonio Police Department. So the Black Lives Matter folks and those people on the other side who see the world, who see the police department differently than we do, and we have to accept that. That's the thing about public discourse. That's the thing about disagreement. If you're going to put out there what you believe, you better damn well be prepared for the other side to say what they think. And they have every right to say it. Mm-hmm. They have every right. If you have a right to scream at the top of your lungs, you love the police officers, you better believe that the other side has the right to say, police officers suck. When we were out at that police rally, the Back the Blue rally at Los Barrios the other night, BLM showed up, was right on the public right-of-way, and they were chanting some pretty heavy stuff. I think I actually have an image of that.
Yeah, right there.
Which one is it? Yeah, right there. Right. Okay. So the image of that from that rally the other night, last week, it says defund SAPD. She's throwing the finger to police officers and their families. Who do you serve? 1312, which stands for ACAB. ACAB is 1312, which is all cops are bastards. So these people show up and and you know what? I stood there with them, talking to them. And I said, you have absolutely every right to be there. Every right. You're in public right away. You can scream at the top of your lungs, all cops are bastards. Doesn't mean you're right, because you're absolutely wrong. But I have the right to stand on my side of it and say exactly what I think. And I talked to Pharaoh Clark, Jordan Parks, other people who were there protesting that which I believe is the exact opposite, right? They're protesting what I firmly believe in my heart is respect for our police officers. And they're saying they hate them, and all cops are bastards. And I'm like, look, you guys hungry? You need some tea? It's hot outside. What can we do for you? You have every right to be here. And it diffused the situation between the two of us, like both sides. And we had a good conversation. They've been on the show, but they're ready to go. So we have to be just as ready to get out there. So put the rally sign back up. And Christine brings up a good point. It's not a binary choice. You can be for the police and recognize that there's a need for fixing. Yes, 100%. I agree with Christine. Okay. Christine Hopkins, I don't know how you say that last name, but KJOSA, Kosa or something. But Christine is absolutely right. It's not a binary choice. It's not a one or the other. I do believe you can 100% love police and realize there's better work to be done. And we can all get better at it. Police officers feel the same way. But for us, Ray Rodriguez is putting up some notes right now. I knew he'd come back. Old Highway 90 events have world-class barbecue. So keep an eye out for this because I want to move on to some other key points of the day. But look out for this because I think we need to show that we love and support our San Antonio police officers. We don't need to talk about what's happening across the country and all these other situations with, frankly, police departments that I don't believe come anywhere near the standard of our San Antonio or Bexar County law enforcement. So for us, it's going to be about putting together a rally, a classic car show cruise up and down Old Highway 90. We're going to start with the date here in the next day or two. We'll post it. Free food, T-shirts, yard signs, stickers, and we'll drive up and down. Bring your flags, bring your trucks, bring your whatever, and let's just have a good conversation with each other. You can grab the food. We'll hand you some material. We'll thank you. You scan a QR code. Tell us who you are, your contact information, and we'll come back. So be on the lookout for this. A car parade up and down Old Highway 90. SA backs the blue. And it doesn't say we hate anybody else or this organization sucks or this is no, it's not. No. We are simply saying we back our police officers. That's it. Now, we're going to get better at it and we're going to be debating over the next 6 or 9 months how police officers can get better. Police officers, I know them. They will join that debate and they will say, okay, let's talk about how we can get better. How can we get better? And they'll do it and they'll get educated and they'll learn. But I don't think we destroy them. We do not defund them. I said this the other day. Look at that right there. It says defend the police. Right now, there's a movement to defund the police. And this is how simple the decision is. City Council, right now, half of City Council wants to defund the San Antonio Police Department. They want to take away resources and put them into other things. They want community ambassadors and counselors to show up on police calls and all this other crazy stuff. Defend the police. Imagine that. There's only a 1-letter difference between defend the police and defund the police. That's how fine the line is in these differences. Now, I take that literal just because it's 1 letter, but I'm trying to point out to you that it's not a far line here. We're not super far off to where we can't fix the situation. Because at the end of it, the real tiny issue that we're all fighting about is, can police officers get better at what they do? Some people's answer is a hard no, and they just want to defund it and take their money away. That is the minority of our city. I guarantee you 3/4 of our city. I just know it. I've polled it as a professional political person. I know it as a former member of the San Antonio City Council, as a former candidate for mayor. I know this with complete and total certainty. This community backs the blue 70% plus. They want police officers in their neighborhoods. They may not tell you all the time because it's a hot topic situation. It's not something people want to talk about. But they defend them. They love them. They want them in their neighborhoods. 75%, 3/4 of this community, 100, they want them there. because they cannot stand the thought of not living in a safe neighborhood and community. So keep an eye out for that. SA Backs the Blue. We're going to knock it out and honor them and thank them. Election update here. Let's talk about our election update. Don't forget, I want to keep reminding people, elections start October 13th as we come into early vote for the November elections. So early vote starts a week earlier based on the governor's proclamation. October 13th through October 30th is early vote for the November 3rd elections. And of course, November 3rd is the first Tuesday in November, which is our regularly scheduled uniform election date for every 4 years we elect the president of the United States. November 3rd is the day, right? So that's going to be it. But early vote, October 13th it starts. So we're less than 70 days away, and we're already watching what's happening in our country. We're watching what's happening at these conventions, and it is getting out of control. I'm going to make a prediction right here. The presidential debates, right, will be the deciding factor of the presidential election. If you look at both the production value and how both conventions worked, I think the Republicans put on a better show, but the Democrats had their ideas, Republicans had theirs. But most people are tuning out. They're not watching these things. They will watch the presidential debates. And this is what I think is going to happen. It is going to be interesting to see if Joe Biden can compete with Donald Trump on the presidential debate stage. So when he's off his teleprompter, he's off his script, and he has to answer an ad lib with a conversation which is admittedly against a very good presidential debate. The president can debate, carry a message. He's a showman. He proved it. He took it to task with Hillary Clinton, and he beat her in those debates. He did. So can Joe Biden, in 3 presidential debates, stand toe-to-toe with him? I just don't know if that's even humanly possible. We're going to find out. That will be the turning point, I think, if the president is able to perform well in those debates and Joe Biden tanks it tremendously. I think the Democrats are in a world of trouble. They're in a world of trouble. If Joe Biden cannot look mentally ready for the job, right? Physically, mentally prepared for the job itself, I think people are going to really have second thoughts about it, because at that point they're going to look and say, okay, President Kamala Harris. And that's a fair judgment, on her record and where she comes from and what she believes. But those debates are going to have outsized importance. Like, I don't think it's ever been any more important, these presidential debates, since Richard Nixon and John Kennedy in the 60s. We've not seen a debate that's going to change the course of an election. And that's really going to come down to mental acuity, mental fitness. You could think what you want. People say President Trump's out of his mind. But now we're going to see the two of them together, and how do they react? It's going to be, man, you want to talk about watch debates, that is it. And I think that's the last shot for both sides to make an impact, because Joe Biden has not come out of his cave hardly at all.
You predict he's going to fake out?
I predict that Joe Biden's going to have a lot of trouble in those debates. Because
no, fake out, like he won't show up.
I don't know, man. A lot of people are saying that Joe Biden shouldn't debate. You better show up. I think if Joe Biden doesn't debate President Trump, Salo, I think he's in a world of hurt. I think he's going to lose if he doesn't show up.
You think he's not going to come up with an excuse at all?
He may very well come up with an excuse, but look, COVID is on the downswing a little bit, right? In Bexar County, we're seeing a reduction week over week. So we're seeing progress in the fight of COVID-19. So Joe Biden can't use COVID-19 as an excuse, I think, to say I can't come out of my cave. He can say, well, you know what, I'm not prepared to debate with somebody who's a complete and total liar. That's an attack line he can use on the president. But I don't think he gets away with not debating. If he chooses to not debate the president, I think he's going to lose running away.
Yeah. I think he's going to come up with
Because if he doesn't debate him, the only reason why will be the mental acuity side of it. Like, he's not up to the task. So there's 3 chances here, right, for Joe Biden. There's three options. He debates, well, that's 4. He debates and does well and owns the president. And at that point, I think Joe Biden he very well will be the president.
It's back.
It's back.
Yeah. Sorry.
So I don't know what's going on with the tech tonight, but we're there. We'll live with it. But check it out. Joe Biden can go in there and tank and do absolutely terrible and look like he's completely not up for the job, in which case I think the president of the United States gets reelected and wins the popular vote. Because it is that troublesome for Joe Biden. And part of it is, look, Joe Biden is, Uncle Joe. I mean, and he's a good old guy from Scranton, Pennsylvania. We get it. He served 47 years in the federal government. But if he's not ready and up to the task, people are going to have to make a hard assessment on Kamala Harris. And by all means, Kamala Harris has an accomplished record herself. She's a senator. She is a tough debater. I worry for Mike Pence on that one. I don't know, Salo, because she is a prosecutor and she can get in that stage. You saw what she did to Joe Biden when she basically called him a racist. All right, she called him a racist, and she also believed, right, that he was the busing issue, and she also believed that there was questions about his accuser, Tara Reid, who accused Joe Biden of sexual assault. Kamala Harris said we should believe her. So so then you look at, okay, well, what does Kamala Harris look like in that debate? And man, Mike Pence is going to have his hands. We lost it again?
No.
Yeah, there's a lost the video. Kamala Harris is going to be all over Mike Pence. And Mike Pence, they're very two contrasting styles. So all that to say, I do believe that
Who do you think is better?
Who do I think is better in the style? Kamala Harris is probably a better debater. Because she has an attacking style. She's a prosecutorial style. And she's going to get into Mike Pence. But the thing about Mike Pence is the guy's a calm machine. You want to talk about two just divergent personalities going at it in debate. But at the end of the day, right, we're going to look at Trump, Biden. And so president does great. He owns Joe Biden. Joe looks sleepy Joe. The president's going to run away with it. Joe Biden doesn't show up. I think the president's he's going to win. Joe Biden has to show up at debates. So I think he shows up. And I think the president's going to actually do exceptionally well because the bar is so low. I mean, Democrats, CNN, everybody thinks he's a total idiot. So they come into the fight, they come into the debate with already demeaned expectations because nobody's given the president any credit at all. So the president's going to come in and he's going to do his thing. And I think it's going to be really Donald Trump running away.
Henry says Pence will use all her words against her.
Well, the thing about Mike Pence is he doesn't get flustered. So you have attacking Kamala Harris, coming at him. And Mike Pence is about as firm and calm as you can get. Mm-hmm. And if he maintains that, there's a stark dialogue between the two. But I just think it's going to be great television to watch. But Joe Biden better show up. Joe Biden had better be there or there's going to be a lot of problems. So be aware of what's happening on the elections. And can you put up the 4 pictures? I think it's number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Can you get them up without crash? We don't want to crash the system here.
What number?
3, 4, 5, and 6. What pops up?
3.
Yeah, I numbered them. There's number 3. So we've got some ballot initiatives coming up in November too. So VIA is asking for $40 million a year starting in 2025, I think it is, 4 years from now. They want to pass a tax. So check this out. This is crazy. VIA wants you to vote on taxing yourself in 2025.
What the heck?
Yeah, I don't know. They've been pushed off the ballot because Ron Nirenberg is coming up with the ballot initiative for workforce education. It's about $150 million of your tax dollars over the next 4 years to fund workforce education. We'll get to that in a second. But VIA got pushed on the back burner. So VIA now is trying to ask for a public vote so that they can use your tax money in 2025 in perpetuity, forever. So VIA wants you to give them a permanent tax increase. Now they're going to say, oh, well, hold on a second here. These aren't new taxes, Greg. You can't say that. No. These are new programs. These are new taxes. Don't buy their crap that these aren't new taxes. They are totally new taxes. Henry Cisneros the other day was talking about that in an article. There's no new taxes. The only reason why, San Antonio, there are no new taxes is because they have completely taxed us out. There's no more room to tax citizens. You can't tax anymore. It's capped. We've reached the maximum limit of available tax resource. So the only reason there's no new taxes is because these knuckleheads at City Hall and people like Henry Cisneros who can't wait to spend your money can't raise the taxes any further. But these are still new taxes. VIA wants that $150 million. They want $40 million a year in perpetuity starting in 2025. So that's going to be a ballot initiative. We don't know how or what the initiative is going to read like yet. We haven't seen it in its completed form, but we're going to keep an eye out for the ballot initiative and we're going to dig in more on that. Can you go to the next picture?
People are commenting, but anyway. Okay.
Oh, heck no. What's some of these comments here? They can wait. Okay. Workforce development's the way to go. We have to keep, how beautiful. Workforce development is the answer. So we all know that the San Antonio Express News and the editorial board are in love with Ron Nirenberg and all his plans and his views of the city and Henry Cisneros. They are the arm of the mayor, right? The Express News is essentially the public communications arm for Ron Nirenberg and every mayor that they think is the best possible hope for the city of San Antonio, right? So in this case, they're propping up the mayor's workforce education plan. I think it's ironic that they're hopping on a bus, right? Because the funny piece is the mayor has kicked transportation down the road for 4 years so that he can ask for his 1/8 of a cent sales tax. This is a new tax. Do not fall prey. And then you can go next. I think Henry Cisneros' comments up next. Where is he at, right? Where's Henry's commentary? Is there another picture, 4, 5, and 6? Right, Cisneros, sales tax measures will lift city rocked by pandemic. Henry, no, they won't. They're not going to. It's not going to happen. These are new taxes, an 1/8 of a cent sales tax, $40 million a year, $150 million over about 4 years that the mayor wants to invest in workforce education and wraparound services for about 35,000 people, right, that have lost their job as a result of the pandemic. I have to tell Henry Cisneros, Ron Nirenberg, and all these other cronies who want to take more taxes from you. Everybody is suffering in this city. There's people, small businesses, large businesses, small families, large families, families of color, white, you name it. COVID-19 has known no boundaries when it comes to destroying lives. But what they're doing with that is taking workforce education and saying, we have to stick that $150 million in there. We're going to pay for people's daycare for their kids. We're going to pay them weekly stipends to go to school. We're going to pay for their tuition. And all of these services are going to help, right, these people find jobs and opportunity. Not now, a year from now. Like, they're not expecting this to be ready and in place until the end of 2021. Meanwhile, the entire city of San Antonio is suffering and struggling right now, right? So these people, and you got to admit this, Henry Cisneros, you can respect what he did for the city 30 plus years ago. Joaquin and Julian Castro. Take Julian Castro, for instance. He's all involved in this as well. Ron Nirenberg. All these people have had decades to fix these problems, and they did absolutely zero. Zero. They didn't fix them. Now they're complaining that just give us another $500 million and we'll get these things fixed. Pre-K for SA will also be on the ballot. We'll talk about that one over time as the vote comes up. But here's a news flash. The city has passed you by. Henry, Julian, it's gone. The city has passed you by. The times that you led during your times, that's great. We appreciate what you did. Thank you for that. Henry was 40 years ago, Craig. Right? So, thank you. The system, the world, the community, we're past you. Henry Cisneros, all these former mayors that are going to pop up, especially Julian Castro, gone. The world is past you. This city has moved on and is a different place in time. So for you people to come in and tell us we need to pay more new taxes, let's have that debate. You know what? I will sit anywhere and argue about what this community is and where it's going any day of the week with Henry Cisneros or Julian Castro or anybody from the past, because they don't know what the hell they're talking about in our city any longer. They've taxed the hell out of us for so long. They've spent all our dollars. And meanwhile, they're always in charge, complaining about the problems they created. What? That's the hypocrisy of this entire thing. They're complaining about the problems that happened when they were in charge. I mean, Julian Castro is a perfect example. Take Julian Castro. This guy couldn't get 1% in the presidential election. Fine. Okay, whatever. He got in there, got his butt handed to him, and got sent back to San Antonio. Okay, he got it. He got humiliated on the national stage. So be it. He came back to San Antonio, and now he's butting his nose into pre-K for SA and workforce and all these other things. His entire team practically owns Ron Nirenberg now. So we're looking at this whole thing, right? And Julian Castro, here he comes. And he's complaining about police brutality. Julian, you signed the police contract yourself. Like you promoted it. You jumped in on that. It's like Joe Gonzalez the other day complaining about police union endorsements. We're going to talk about that one in a second. But you can't complain about the system you created. What the hell's wrong with you? It's just ridiculous. So we have to, what? You want the Joe Gonzalez? Yeah, I want to talk about Joe Gonzalez in a second. I want to wrap this up, though. These initiatives need to have debate and be prepared. And I don't know if they're even going to say it. I don't even know if they're going to let it happen. But we need to put the facts up. We need to at least put out alternative ideas. And we just can't say, and I'll concede it 100%. We just can't say Henry Cisneros is old and tired and we need new. We can't just say that. And we can't say Julian Castro has terrible ideas and he drove the city in the ground. And part of the reason we have economic segregation right now is Julian Castro's decade of downtown. Oops, I said it. The guy invested the billions into downtown only. And the rest of our city, especially the south side and east side, you want to know why we have gentrification and other issues where people can't afford their homes and they're skyrocketing property taxes? Julian Castro's decade of downtown destroyed the city's economic segregation. You want to talk about why we're the most economically segregated, wage-challenged city in the nation? You can thank Julian Castro for it. 100%. Decade of downtown. He put billions into it and ignored the rest of the city. We've got to now stand up and see if they'll stand up with us. Well, let's have a talk. But it's not enough to say, people, these people suck. That's not enough. You have to have ideas, and we're going to bring ideas to the conversation. So you just can't say we can't spend the money in workforce. Where would you spend the money is a fair question. So we have to bring other ideas to it, and let's make sure we're bringing an honest conversation and debate. Because these people, they have no boundaries when it comes to hypocrisy. They will say, City Hall will say anything necessary to get reelected. I mean, anything. People are, and I've been elected myself. Now, maybe I ran my mouth a lot, I said a lot, and I told it like it was. But at least I was honest, right? At least I tried my best every day for the citizens I represented, which is District 6. I just went to town and fight for them all the time. These people, you don't know who they support. I'll give you a great example. Joe Gonzalez, our district attorney. Can you put up the Joe Gonzalez one? I think it's number, you got it? The first one. So Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez came out the other day, a couple of days ago, and says, he joined the national call to end police union endorsements. Now, look, if $500 or $1,000 buys you, so be it. I guess so. If them spending money, if you're going to sell your soul, and first of all, I believe if you're going to partner up with anybody, partner up with law enforcement. I think that's a safe bet. That's where the citizens of San Antonio are. But Joe Gonzalez, the district attorney, says end police union endorsements. Joe, police unions are families. They stand together and they work together and they endorse candidates that they believe support public safety. You may not like their tactics. I'm not saying you agree with their tactics. But ending police union endorsements because they're putting money and support behind candidates. Put the next slide over. The hypocrisy of Joe Gonzalez and the political machine at Bexar County and City Hall. Put the next one up. Oops. Can you put those back and forth real quick?
Oh, I don't know.
Soros contributions to Lloyd. Bexar County District Attorney. There. $1 million from George Soros. The district attorney says, I don't want any union endorsement. But yet, he took $1 million against Nico LaHood 2 years ago. Now, put his quote in there. I think we got one more little picture. There's a little paragraph of his words. Campaign endorsements and contributions send a message, the statement said. This is Joe Gonzalez. They tell citizens that the candidate, in this case a prosecutor seeking election, aligns with the values and interests of the donor or endorser. And they create perceived, if not actual, impression that the elected officials are beholden to that group. So what are the values and interests of police unions that elected prosecutors will perceive as aligning with? I don't know, Joe. What are the values of George Soros? Took $1 million from him. So are you gonna return the $1 million? Look, I took political contributions. I stand with police officers. I make no bones about it. I don't hide it. You want to take me to task for that and not vote for me because unions support me and they pour resources into helping me out? Get pissed off about it all you want. I stand with the police union, 100%. Who do you stand with, Joe? George Soros don't live in San Antonio. Campaign endorsements and contributions send a message. They tell that candidate aligns with the values and interests of the donor endorser. That would be George Soros, San Antonio. That's who that is. So he doesn't align with the values then, according to his own words. He doesn't align with the values of San Antonio. He aligns with the values of Soros. There you go. So, information. Just a bit of information to know. Just a little, just a sprinkle of fact. All right. What else we got here? Let's see. We'll skip talking about the boy because we're almost at the end here, right? Some other things happening at the city. There is the Alamo vote is coming back up again. Can you put up the Alamo number?
Alamo rendering?
Yeah, Alamo rendering. I think we have one of those. Put that one up there. Okay, look, I also have to take the heat too. The Alamo rendering shows restored battlefield, move cenotaph. Be ready. This one's coming back up again because they have come out with the new picture, and that's it right there of what the Alamo is going to look like, and the cenotaph is not in that mix. This was a highly divisive vote a couple years ago on the San Antonio City Council. It took a lot out of people. It's a sacred place. The cradle of Texas liberty is our Alamo Plaza, and we voted to put $400 million into that plaza. It is a hot button issue. The state of Texas has jumped in and said, slow your roll. Let's analyze what this looks like and what are we doing when we move the cenotaph and other items and we revamp what the Alamo is in our city and our community. Of course, San Antonio feels real tight about that, right? We feel in our heart how we feel about the Alamo. The state protecting that and all the different groups that have come into it. I got to tell you, I voted on it and I voted in favor of putting that money into the plaza. I think we need $400 million in there. But I'm not sure that cenotaph needs to move. Like, I was torn on that. I was conflicted. That was a tough vote for me on the Alamo and specifically the cenotaph. So even I'm reevaluating that. Like, man, what's up with the cenotaph? Like, it's so sacred. Let's talk about that and dig deeper. But in this particular case, this topic is coming up as we finalize this. Look, it's already been voted on and approved, but the money and the actual monument and the movement of it, all this is only going to get worse. This is coming, and this, especially when they showed it with the moved cenotaph. We should honor the Texas defenders and put the money into the plaza. And I think most of all of this would go away if they just left the cenotaph where it was. If they left it where it was, we wouldn't have 95% of the problems we're having. That's it. And maybe that's something we need to also, as those of us who voted in favor of this project, we need to examine that. Like, what are we doing, and are there workarounds or other things that need to happen? But be on the lookout. That one's coming, and it's coming quickly. As you could tell, the Rivard Report piece right there from August 26th. We talked about the ballot initiative. We talked about Joe Gonzalez, the Alamo, the conventions. I think we've kind of hit everything tonight. Right? We kind of about finished with it, right? So let's wrap up on a couple of thoughts before we give it a shutdown. And look, man, I'm sorry about the tech issues tonight. Well, we covered all our main points. We went through everything. And let's recap who we think and what this next couple of weeks are going to look like. So some of the things we're going to focus on is we're going to get different candidates and people invited back in here. And let's start asking questions of both sides. All people are welcomed, right? Here comes the cenotaph. Look, moving statues, virtue signaling. It's another attempt to rewrite the law, the history. I'm DRT, so yeah, it's a hot issue. All right, Christine again talking about she's a daughter of Republic of Texas. I wonder what happened if officials could only accept contributions from people that resided in the area. Henry with the comment on that. Cenotaph needs to remain. Leave the cenotaph alone from Tina Cortez. Yeah, I don't disagree with you now. I think we need to get back to that and examine it and make sure we know what in the world's going on. And we protect, look, at the end of the day, the Alamo, we protect Texas defenders and we tell that story of why Texas is here in the first place, what San Antonio is, sure. Can we talk about the history and all that before that? Yes, but at the end of the day, the Alamo is the cradle of Texas liberty, and it is about the defenders, period. It's not about telling the story of Mexico or Santa Ana or anybody else that came through. No, it's not about none of that. The Alamo is about the Texas defenders, and let's never lose sight of that, and let's do what's right by that, and I think that should inform us all. But be on the lookout for our Back the Blue rally. We're going to put this bad boy on in the next couple weeks. We'll wrap up now. SA Backs the Blue. We're going to do it up and down Old Highway 90. Classic car parade, so we're socially distant. Ron Nuremberg doesn't give us a ticket for not wearing our masks. He doesn't send the Metro Health Police after us to bust us up. We're going to do a Defend the Police, SA Backs the Blue rally. Be on the lookout. Expect this to be advertised with a date and time, free food, t-shirts, signs, and stickers for the kids. We're going to rally not to oppose anybody. This isn't about opposing anything, because I believe you can be pro-police and pro-Black Lives Matter. I believe you can do both. SA Backs the Blue rally. It's coming, sponsored by Greg Brockhouse, the broadcast, his family and friends. We're going to put it on, and we're going to invite everybody across the city, hop in your car, drive through, and say, hey, look, we defend our police. Our local police are doing an exceptional job. We should honor them. we should also be cognizant that Black Lives Matter is a true movement in our community, in our nation, and there are people who are concerned about policing and getting better at it. We can support that as well. You can do both. It's not impossible to say I care about Black lives, but I also want to make sure police are fully funded, that they're taken care of, and we're doing everything we can to have safe neighborhoods and streets for all people of color. Right? So, Black Lives Matter, hell yes. Police lives and backing and supporting our police officers so they're not defunded, that they're taken care of, hell yes. They need to do their job and be supported. We need to get there and show it because the city hall, the other side, needs to know just how important police are. I don't know how they're going to vote in September. We have no idea. The city council, whether they're going to defund or not. I don't think they will because they want to get reelected. But we can show our support. Keep an eye out. We know about the elections coming up. We talked about the propositions. We're going to invite people, family, and friends in, even people on the other side of the issue. If you know somebody you think I should invite on the show to have a conversation, let me know who they are. Put it in the comments. Give me the name. Direct message me and say, hey, Greg, you need to talk to this person. Even if they completely disagree with me, come on into the show. Hell, man, Gabriel, he was out there commenting earlier before the tank went in on the internet connection. Come on the show, man. Let's talk about our differences and show people how it's done. That's it. Let's show people how it's done when you can say, I disagree with you, man. Let's have it out. And then let's go outside here and have a Coke. It's good to say a beer. But we go outside, have a drink, and break some bread and realize afterwards, boy, we're all San Antonians. The world is not that bad. Because I don't know what world you people think you're living in where this is a racist, systemically broken city. I don't know what that city is. All I know is I love San Antonio. I think it's fantastic. We're in this fight together. We got a lot of work we can do. It's the greatest city in the country with the greatest police department. And we've got nothing but a hell of a lot of opportunity to get down to facts and figures and work to make things better. And if that means making policing better, we can do that too. If it's making this better, if it's working to make sure Black lives are protected and respected, we can do all of that. Because San Antonio has proven over 300 years it's exactly what we are. We are not a crappy city who hates people of color, who's destroyed and systemically broken. It's not us. And I'll stand up on every corner of this street, of this city, in any street, and say that as loud and clear as possible. We are not that city, right? I spent my entire life here. I know exactly who we are and exactly what we can be when we get things done together. We want to do a couple of memes. All right, let's wrap up with a couple of memes here and we'll finish up. I love this one right here.
And that's not Photoshopped.
That's not Photoshop.
That is real.
Fiery, but mostly peaceful protests. Look at that. God.
That's peace right there. Imagine what war looks like.
That's CNN for you. 100%. The guy is broadcasting in front of utter chaos and destruction. Fiery, but mostly peaceful protests outside after police shooting. CNN, never missing an opportunity to absolutely distort the truth. What's next?
This one's interesting.
Oh, I love this one. This one gets me. I wonder what in the heck's going on. Because, yeah, look at that. 430,000 national convention on C-SPAN, 76,000 day one for Democrats. But they did. As much as you want to say, you did win the Electoral College, Republicans. By the way, I did want to say this. Republicans are going crazy with boat parades. You notice this?
Yeah.
If they want to win, they better go crazy with vote parades because boating across all these lakes and everything, that's not going to get people elected. And Democrats are fired up. They are ready to go. And in San Antonio, Bexar County, there are some heavily funded, aggressive Democratic candidates going straight at Republicans. But like stuff like this, I don't know, man. Like it's going to be interesting to see because every metric I look at, Republicans are always killing it. Like they have the social media, they have the messaging, they have all of it. This is another example. But you know what? We'll see where the facts and figures are. I thought people would enjoy seeing that difference. And that, hey, if I don't know if it's about you, but you also watch these conventions and see who the leaders are on the next rung up. Like who are they? Like who's the next step? Tim Scott did fantastic when he spoke. So did Nikki Haley. I got to tell you, I think the first female president of the United States, the first woman president, is going to be Nikki Haley.
Yep. Yeah.
She was, well, presidential. Phenomenal job by Nikki Haley. All right, what else we got? I love that. I don't know. This one creeps me out. Normally, I'd walk through this door out of curiosity, but 2020 has taught me better than that. That is absolutely true. 2020 is a total train wreck. What do you got? What do you got? This is what I was thinking and how I said it. I just think it reminds me of my son. He draws pictures, and I'm like, well, I know where you're going with that. And son, that's a cute zebra. Hey, Dad, that's not a zebra. That's a oh, my bad. Well, I was thinking. This is classic me too. In any walk of my life, whether it's in business or politics, this is exactly what I was thinking. But for some reason, it came out like a crazy broken-legged horse that looked like a Teletubby. I don't know. It was insane. This one is messed up right here.
That's the Democrats right there.
So Cardi B interviewed Joe about a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, and they were talking about the crime bill and other things. The person glorified for drugging and robbing men discusses police misconduct with the author of the 1994 crime bill. That is 100% true. Joe Biden and Barack Obama later on, but Joe Biden was part of that crime bill. You know who undid the crime bill and passed true, right, criminal justice reform? Donald J. Trump passed criminal justice reform and fixed the city. Even Van Jones, CNN contributor, completely thanked Donald Trump for his crime reform package. So Cardi B is legendary because she literally said, I used to drug men and rob them. I used to drug them, rob them, and take their cash. And this is the state of how politics has got. She was interviewing potentially the next president of the United States as if she was an authority on crime. She is an authority on crime, committing crime.
She's an author of crime.
She's an author of crime. Admitted. She admitted it.
Yeah.
She said it herself. I used to drug them and steal their money. The state of politics. What else we got?
Who coordinated that interview?
I don't know who did that interview, but it was ridiculous. Joe Biden just looks so lost.
I'm like, you know who could interview? Right.
I love this one. This is an old-time favorite. Popped up my feed the other day. Just wanted to show it. Ocasio-Cortez. Everything's free. She always guesses free. What else you got? Realizing his campaign is dying, Biden tries a new strategy. Golly. Can you imagine? That looks fantastic. I just love that one. Is there anything else left on there? I think there was a defund City Hall. Yes, is there one? What do you people think about this as we wrap up the night? I don't even know who's even left watching after all the tech issues. This is a fair question. Yes or no? Should we defund City Hall? I'm here to tell you, having been at City Hall, you can solve most of the city's problem by cutting City Hall's food budget out. They eat more food, more special food at City Hall than any other organization in the city government. Cut the food budget, and you could probably cure homelessness if you remove City Hall's food budget. That's literally true. You could go downtown and say, man, I wish I had a Klondike bar, and one would magically appear. Like they feed you like it's going out of style. So look, that's it. We appreciate you. We always want you to log on, stay informed. Sorry about the tech issues tonight. We're going to do the best we can, get things set up a little bit better so it doesn't fall off. Be prepared for invited guests. We're going to get back out in the mix, start bringing people on to have the hard discussions, even if, and I think we should focus first on those who disagree with us 100%. So I'm going to think about some people. You got ideas and names, put them in the comments, let us know. Always, always, always like it, share it, tag it. We appreciate you, and just get informed. I don't care where you vote at the end of the day. Just get out, vote, understand what the issues are. We're going to bring that information to you as best we can. That's our opinion, all right? It's not fact. Sometimes it is, but I like to put my opinion out there. But we need you to jump on board with it. Understand that we're here to do things like educate, inform, and then you go do the ultimate test, which is vote. So thank you. We appreciate you. We will be back next Thursday, 6:30 p.m. I'm going to find a guest, and we're going to have a good conversation. And let's get after it. Let's disagree, and let's part friends. As always, we appreciate you. We will see you in approximately 7 days. The broadcast is out.